Welcome back to Beards and Brews. Hey, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe or follow no matter where you're listening. Not only does it help us fellas out, you'll know exactly when we have another one brewing. Gentlemen, it has been a fucking hot minute since we've chimed in with Mr. Above the Law, Hard to Kill, and this time he is marked for death. What'd you guys think of this movie?
It's an entry for Segaluary. That's what we got.
It's a late one, yeah. It does feel kind of nice to go back and just watch a big pile of horse shit masquerading as a real movie.
Oof.
I'm with you there. Seeing Steven Seagal take on all the extras from Predator 2 was extraordinary.
So obviously I'd never seen this before, never heard of it. This is a bad movie.
Yes, it is. I was wildly surprised. Like, these movies have a really low bar to hurdle over, right? And what I think I love the most about these movies, because Steven Seagal himself, total piece of work, but it's the fact that his movies try, especially his early ones, they try really hard to be a movie. They try to movie so hard, but there's just like rock and hard place called Steven Seagal who just will not let it fucking happen.
All right, I can see that, but I want to say this. For at least the first half of the film, Steven Seagal was semi-interesting. He was there, he was putting on a show, and then once you get to the contractual strip club, he just didn't care anymore. He was like, all right, cool, I got to see some titties, I'm done.
Maybe.
I got a strip club in the first page of my notes. Is that what you're talking about? Because that's like 10 minutes in. And if you're saying the last 80 minutes of this movie gets boring, I'm in on it.
Yeah. Oh, really? I wouldn't call it boring, but it really tries to like get on the ground running. But man, that ball and chain Seagal, he just will not fucking let this movie not be awkwardly violent.
Yeah.
And you're not shitting. It's literally the Fox logo, which I always love. I've always loved that the way it opens.
And drawn, it's nice.
Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, fucking windmill running Seagal comes out of the darkness to just beat the dog shit out of Danny Trejo right in the middle of the Three Amigos village.
Yes, absolutely. And the movie also just does like every trope out of the box, right? Like we're in someplace Hispanic, so slight yellow tint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually super surprised that Steven Seagal didn't try his horseshit Spanish on somebody.
Oh, no. Yeah, you've even got, like, as soon as they get into that strip club, the nasty old strip club, you got a guy,
my God,
crushing a cucaracha.
I watched this with the missus, like I usually do, and in this screening in particular, she had so many questions. And one of them was just like, why? Like, why does this exist the way it does? And I think for the most of the movie, I had to infer only because I've seen other movies.
I've got a really big question. I'm going to reserve it until the end of the cast, but I still need an answer because I don't get it.
Well, I think anyone who's viewing a Steven Seagal movie, not in order, and for the first time, they don't realize that whether Steven Seagal's character is named the same, or he's in a different film that has nothing to do with the prior film, he's playing the same character. It's going to be Steven Seagal, CIA, DEA, FBI, manslaughter machine that can get away with anything, and everyone loves him, even though he's the fucking biggest villain in every one of the movies.
Everything bad that happens in this movie is because Steven Seagal is there.
In fact, it's like this weird kind of like back to reality thing to where like his shit is so goddamn off the wall and just you shouldn't do that as a good guy kind of thing. It goes back to being, oh wait, these are just the comeuppance of being a guy who just did what he fucking did.
Fact. Because, like, he beats up a guy, and rightfully so. If it ended there, let me just set the stage. Bad guy doing bad things. Steven Seagal, get out here. Whap, whap, whap. Beats his ass real quick. Dude's on the ground. He picks him up by the head. Guy's like, oh no. Takes him by the arm and viciously, in which the movie does a phenomenal job of it. It's one of the best breaks I've seen in a film. Breaks his fucking forearm with his wrist down to his elbow.
It's rough.
He didn't need to.
No, he never does. The thing is, that's his one move. Is he just fucking torques somebody's arm until they'll have to flip out of the way, or they just get it broken off. This is like the 6th movie that I've seen of his where he breaks a dude's arm like this on screen. I think he does it twice in this movie, let alone a whole fucking dude.
A little bit later, he does one-up it. Yeah, he one-ups that with a backbreaker. Just breaks the dude's back in half.
We'll talk about that when we get there, because I feel like after a while, even Steven Seagal's fed up with this movie, and that was his ticket out.
I rewound that 3 times. Just
Me
because
too.
That dummy was so fucking good that me and the wife were like almost in tears. She was like, "Why's that dummy so stiff?" Because after he breaks it, the hair's all wiggling. Oh.
It was so obtuse. It was just ridiculous, and it's almost the cherry on top. I can't wait to get to it. But right now, we're in Colombia for some reason, and
Is this
by
Colombia?
God, look. That's what it says later on the movie. Why
Does it?
not?
Okay.
Because the movie totally just forgets the first act even happens halfway through. So whatever.
Yeah, basically setting the stage for you. Some bad shit goes down with some gringos down in Colombia, evidently. And
Drug.
he ends up going back to his boss or whatever at the DEA in Chicago and is like, I'm out. I've done a lot of bad stuff, to get to some bad guys, and then I had to realize that it was me that was becoming.
Oh, Lord. That whole shit. If I could, future Eric, insert like the longest fart sound you can possibly fucking muster, because that's just how I felt. The movie just shat on me. Because Steven Seagal's character, as Steven Seagal in most of these movies, he's doing some heinous shit. But as always, he's, I'm the DEA and I was actually working for the CIA so I can get the FBI, you know what I'm saying, ASAP. And it's just the most boomer bullshit shit you will ever hear. And then he does all this shit in Colombia. He kicks the shit out of Danny Trejo. He cuts a guy's hand off and all kinds of just... I feel like they're war crimes at a certain point. He goes back to his boss, and his boss is like, listen, I know we have to get our hands dirty. I know it's not easy. Calm down. Take a month off. Take 2. The coolest fucking boss in the world. And you know what Steven Seagal does? Whips his ponytail around. He's like, hey, motherfucker, fuck you. And just leaves. Even for a Steven Seagal movie, I was just like, goddamn, dude.
Yeah.
2 months off with pay? You kidding me? I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
Think about that, though. You just murdered a bunch of fucking people publicly. And your boss is like, hey, man, that was dirty, but you did what needed to be done. We love you. And we're going to use you again. But you need to lay low for a little bit. And like you said, Eric, he says, nah, motherfucker. And he immediately goes home, which I want to point this out. He doesn't do this often in the movie. Steven Seagal is genuinely smiling and laughing with this quote-unquote mother character he's interacting with. And I was kind of blown away by that. The fact that he's smiling.
He cracked a smile.
Well,
yeah, that he's being soft.
Well, he tells him to go find his gentler self. So he goes to what I can assume is his sister's house, and all I can assume is that he's actually attracted to this girl, but he's trying to, she's supposed to be his sister, so he can't, squeeze a titty just yet. He almost gets there later. He almost does.
He's just waiting for the director to just yell cut so he can sexually assault this poor woman.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. What are you doing, Step Seagal?
Oh, it's not good.
No. No.
But you're absolutely right, because later in the movie we run into a DEA psychologist, and I was just like, that's just Steven Street meat. What the fuck movie? And to your point, Chan Man, I actually don't even fucking know the relationship between the shorter haired lady and Steven Seagal, because it's just so there's nothing there. The movie doesn't tell me anything. They're just well, he cares about this lady and this kid, and they get all shot up and he's mad about it.
Yeah, I think the first girl, the little girl that they introduce, is supposed to be his niece. So I can only assume that either she or the dude that is there for one frame a little bit later is a sibling of some type. One of these has to be either sister or brother. Oh, yeah, they call him Uncle John.
Ugh.
Oh, sure, I guess. I don't know. But, I just don't buy it. Not even in, the same sense that I would just kind of look the other way in other Seagal movies. There's something particularly just almost like you can tell what's happening in the background of the movie. Steven Seagal goes back to Chicago to see some family, sure. He's not on the force anymore. He's supposedly retired, even though he quit, even though he was let go for leave. Don't worry about it.
But then they pull him back in. We really didn't. They pulled me back in. You put yourself back in. Yes. They pulled me back in.
There's no pulling. You guys said earlier that he's openly murdering people in the streets. You know what he does? He goes back to Chicago and openly murders people in the streets.
While teamed up with Coach Keith David after he's done with his days of battling consumerism with Roddy Piper.
Yes. He's got a long history just dealing with these fucking whack job white folk, and it fucking shows. Because he rolls into this place, right? Like, he's on the job. Keith David is a coach at a high school. Good for him. Steven Seagal walks on the field while they're practicing, looking like he's about to pull a shotgun out of those fucking baggy pants.
Okay.
I mean, it was the 1990s, Chicago. It was kind of expected, wasn't it?
I don't even buy it's Chicago. Like, I was just like, this is California.
Yeah,
This
it 100% is. Like,
everything.
A little bit later, they got, like, right here, I could buy that as Chicago, but a little bit later, when they supposedly go, like, out to the suburbs or whatever, that is 100% Los Angeles. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, there's like a bit of a car chase later on, and it's got the same syndrome as like Halloween from '78. Like, you just look down the streets and just see those line of palm trees. You're like, oh yeah, Chicago.
That's
sunny.
Sunset Boulevard.
That car chase was fucking lit. All right. Some of the special action scenes in here were fucking cool. They showed us, what is that, a Mercedes jumping like a 6-foot drop and fucking eating it and still going, and then that truck really did that jump, fucking hit, bounced, and kept rolling. That's sweet.
I mean, that's exactly why fucking OJ picked a Bronco.
Hell yeah.
But once more, I was completely distracted by this movie trying to convince me. Whatever the scene is trying to be, it doesn't do it. It's just trying to convince me. And this little car chase, they're going through the streets of, quotey fingers, Chicago. Yeah. And occasionally they'll run into something, whether it's a cafe or something that's on the sidewalk, a terrace. And it's just like, specifically, the Chicago Club or the Chicago Pub is like, it's Chicago, remember? I'm just like, sure. All right, cool. You know?
Why are they selling this so hard to be Chicago, by the way? Like, say it's Los Angeles. That makes it cooler. You just can't use that one single line about how, oh, the drugs were in LA and New York, and now they're way out here in middle America. Throw away that line. Problem solved.
Just say, oh man, the drugs hit the suburbs, and then done.
Yeah, you could say that's the suburbs of LA. Say that's fucking Riverside or something. They'll believe it. It won't make a difference.
Yeah, there you go. You know, that's all you need. And that's what most of this movie feels like. It's like they had this idea of a movie, and the movie was movieing, but somewhere somebody said, no, it's in Chicago now. And they're like, what?
I guess Chicago's the only place where children, while at school, can openly talk to extras from Predator who are like, yeah, man, that there is the crock, man. And the guys are like, wow, that's crack. And he's so happy and smiling about it. That was ridiculous. Like a dare ridiculous ad.
Yeah, the movie's not subtle at all. So, like, all in the same shtick, right? Steven Seagal doesn't want anything to do with law enforcement at the moment. Goes to see his friend. He's not dead like in Rambo. Good for him. And just so happens, there's just Jamaican drug lords, broad daylight, selling weed to kids.
Just on the bleachers.
Yeah. And then even furthermore, they're somehow connected to the Colombians that we saw in the beginning of the movie, and totally not a fucking big retcon because they forgot to finish the movie.
Hey, Eric, do you remember in Predator 2 when the Colombians and the Jamaicans were fighting?
I mean, I feel like the 80s were just nothing but like coke
Colombians and Jamaicans?
Yeah, just like Colombian Jamaican drug war. That's all Chicago was.
Yes.
Right?
That's Chalet.
Guys, can I tell you what my big takeaway from this movie was? It was that Keith David can do fucking anything. Put a script in front of him and he can make you believe it. It's just a shame that he couldn't make us believe it for more than like the 6 minutes of screen time that he gets here.
Wrong. I disagree. They took his fucking lines away. That's his problem. He was outperforming Steven Seagal, and Steven Seagal clearly stepped in and said, cut this man's lines.
I don't doubt it at all. No, 100%.
I was going to say something to that effect, because every scene, Keith David and Steven Seagal, and just those two, whether they're sitting in the car or just walking around talking about the case, which isn't their case, there's this, like, palpable jealousy, if I want to call it that, you know? Because, like, Keith David is so great. He can turn any line into something believable as a real person would say and deliver. And then Steven Seagal, it almost feels like he has a line, but in his mind, he has something better. And when he tries to toss it out, it's like watching that dog get hit in the face with a Frisbee.
Yes.
Well, like, when they're first, chatting with each other, he's asking about his divorce or whatever. Keith David throws out this beautiful line that's just like, I love giving all my possessions away. Makes me feel real spiritual.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell Steven Seagal's just like, fuck, I could never deliver a line like that.
Yeah.
Okay, he can have this one, but he doesn't get any more.
Exactly. Exactly. It was that moment. And then the rest of the movie, he's the penguin from Madagascar. Smile and wave, boys.
Smile and wave.
Smile and wave.
What he basically said was like, haha, yeah, if you got nothing, means you're poor, right? That leads me to believe that he, from the foundation of what Keith David said, did not understand what that meant. It's just from the get-go.
100%. 100%. He just lost and was like, no possessions, poor, bad. Okay, here I go. And then Keith David went, he missed my complete meaning. But then he just smiles and walks it off because he's like, whatever.
Yeah, because he's such a bro. He's like, you know what, whatever.
That fucked him up. That's why his action scenes seemed lacking. He's just off for the rest of the movie.
Yes. No, you're right, because like we push a little further, they kind of sneak up on the Jamaican fellas. They're at this bar, still in Chicago, but I feel like I'm in the middle of Milwaukee or some shit like that. Because like this place, this venue, has nothing to do with the gangs that roll into this place. It just looks like bar.
Yeah.
That's it. But you have like Colombians in full suit looking like Italian mafioso, then all these, man, the way they portray Jamaicans in this film is just so fucking cardboard and just so, I don't know. It's just like, what do you think of when you think of a Jamaican man? Oh, you mean the Cinestick from all the Cinnamon Jack commercials? Because that's totally it, right?
Yes.
It's so unapologetically ignorant that I just couldn't help but laugh sometimes.
Like, the visual that I kept coming back to isn't any like actual Jamaicans. It's Dave Chappelle as Mr. Nice Guy in Half Baked. Right near the beach, boy! Lord of mercy.
And then he just leaves, and he's gone. And speaking of leaving, this is also the scene where like the movie just passes the baton off because there's Colombians in this scene, but they just disappear for the rest of the movie, and now it's a Jamaican mafioso issue because.
But what I have down for this scene is I thought they were Mexican at this point, not Colombian, so I have them down as Mexican Gorilla Monsoon does a deal with the Rasta Cartel in...
The Rasta Cartel.
Definitely the bar from Huey Lewis and the News Sports.
From the album cover?
Yeah, the album cover. It's that bar for sure.
Hey, man, what you doing in here? You know it's hip to be square. And they're like, what? And he just folds them in half. It doesn't matter.
You turn to the far left, and sitting at two tables are the kids from Weird Science talking to a bunch of dudes.
Oh, he's like already in jive mode.
Yes.
I dig it, because the rest of this is just so out of pocket, for lack of a better term, man. Because, like, you feel like the movie's like shoehorned. It's like, oh, we need a shootout, huh? Well, I guess a shootout's just gonna fucking happen.
I'll tell you what else fucking happens. This Mexican Gorilla Monsoon character goes to this fortune teller lady who's like, evidently these Jamaicans are using spirits to do some shit. So she's like, all right, I'm going to get naked about it. Then I'm going to spit some Bacardi on this chicken and kill it.
And hey, look. Yeah, just like Seagal, you had to be naked because there's no fucking point to this entire scene. Like, at all.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
You missed it. I got you covered. Don't worry. The point of this scene, number one, is so she can deliver the fucking great line, "You won't see the eyes of the glimmer man till him come calling." Number one. Number two, this spell goes horribly awry. We don't get to see it in this film, but in this film's continuation, we do get to see the effects of what happens when voodoo magic goes wrong, gets misdirected, and attacks a random great white shark who now feels the need to wipe out some poor angry welder's husband.
Oh, shit.
God damn it. Of course the fear would start in Chicago, right?
We promise you, use the dead man walking.
As soon as Jesus left, it was over.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
The point of that scene, I think, was to show Rasta policemen... Man, I hate that this is real. Was to kind of just like stave off like the bad guys. Like, if they're using voodoo, I'll use anti-voodoo. Put a little spell on them so like when they fuck us up, they won't fuck us up that bad.
The voodoo with the anti-voodoo.
Yeah, like, you know, they didn't kill what's his name. He just got wounded. But
they end up mowing down his sister's house and what's her name catches a stray, the daughter or the son, one of them, it doesn't matter.
The kid, and the fact that this happened is just fucking hilarious. Or excuse me, not the actual action itself, but like the movie needed any fucking reason to send Steven Seagal on a murderous rampage around LA.
Next thing I have is a guy named Jimmy Fingers. Who is Jimmy Fingers, fellas?
He's the guy in the Speedo.
Oh my god, banana hammock guy? That's the only other banana hammock I've seen in an action movie other than Stone Cold, where Brian Bosworth rocks the shit out of that.
The boss. Yep.
Look, hammock aside, this is probably the best performance, this 30 seconds, you will ever see from Steven Seagal. And I'll tell you why. It's because he fucking means it. I mean, he's gonna hurt somebody. Because he rolls in with the ultimatum. He's gonna be like, you tell me what I want to know, you have a good day. You don't tell me what I know, I'ma fuck you up. Just like, that's the loudest I've ever heard him talk. That's the most concerned I've ever seen him. And he just points his big fat finger at this dude. I'm like, dude, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this little bit because he's kind of punching him and boying him around, and the guy's kind of giving you that mafioso, I'm a made man shit. And he's like, all right, dude, bam, and fucking blows his head off. And you go, shit, he was not fucking around. And that death scene was pretty good because, like, he blows a hole in the dude's head. The dude falls in the chair, is kind of shivering, and he's staring at Seagal. And then the Jamaican dude, who I'm going to call Little John Macon, he's like, yeah, and throws himself out of a window for no reason.
He absolutely just fucking yeets himself from 10 stories up.
It's an episode of Fresh Prince, except for, that wasn't jazzy jazz.
It's just jazz, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the fact that his solution was like, you can't kill me, Steven Seagal, not if I kill me first, and just hurdles himself onto that old Oldsmobile. It's just like, what the fuck? But I guess I do have to hand it to the movie, like, that is a real dude falling out of the window, real dude taking a hit at the bottom. I'm like, all right, stunt successful. But what about all the fellas that Steven puts his hands on through the movies? that wasn't fucking fake. That's
the weird thing about movies like this, especially for me. Most of the time, the movie is lacking. It's not really offering you, per se, a lot in the terms of storytelling and genuine acting. But by God, the feats of human ability that get put on display are fucking nuts. To see a man dive out of a 4th-story window, take a 30, 40-foot plummet and smash off the top of a goddamn car, and that's a dude.
Liquid death. Say liquid death.
I got you. You would think that he would fall, bounce off the fucking hood of the car, smash on the ground into a puddle of liquid death.
Ooh. And what I've got here today, this is a dry January, so I'm going with liquid death. This is sparkling water. This is a 0.0% alcohol by volume because this is literally just water. It's carbonated artesian water, but it's fucking water. It's actually really good. I had a lot of doubts. Not a sponsor. Liquid Death sponsors a lot of things. They are not a sponsor here. But
they should be.
They could be. I'm actually really impressed with all of the Liquid Deaths that I've had. I expected just kind of plain-ass water. I don't know what's different about it, but it tastes fucking good. Go check it out. I don't know what more to say. It's good.
Well, you know what else is good? Not being a sore loser at dominoes, unlike King Willie, who, whenever he realizes that, this dude's beating him, and that Hacha, which is Steven Seagal's character's name, is out there on the loose, he sends 1/4 Jamaican to attack him. That dude is tiny.
Oh.
Out of all the Jamaicans, the one that goes to get his girlfriend, whenever he busts the door open and on the girlfriend, he's at like tit level to this lady who was at tit level to Seagal. So he's a little guy.
Yeah.
He was about a 4th Jamaican.
He's a little Jamaican patty.
I had some coffee earlier, and its name was Jamaican me crazy. It's a Jamaican kind of day. I was listening to some dub reggae earlier. I'm vibing.
Okay, since you mentioned reggae, there's a part later where they go to a reggae bar, and I was like, oh shit, we're going to have some mellow reggae, and Steven Seagal's going to be busting some ass. That's going to be a weird contrast, but that could be a lot of fun, and it didn't happen.
No, not only did that not happen, that's a little transition. Like, the Colombians just kind of gave up, and then this is just Jamaica movie now.
I think the tie-in between the Colombians and the Jamaicans is that the Jamaicans are new to the area and encroaching on the Colombian cartel's turf. And I guess once the Jamaicans won, they took over that little square.
With all that, kind of behind the movie, the movie was very adamant to forget all that shit anyways. there is like a little bit of a car chase that runs into downtown, quote unquote, Chicago. We mentioned it earlier, like, it's pretty good. Like, there's like great action, but like some weird dissonance with like actual reality. That's fine. We get to a point where they just basically just like crash into this like Tiffany store or something like that. It looks expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And for some reason, the movie's like, hey, we got Keith David. Y'all want to make the scene from They Live just like extra violent for no reason? And then Steven Seagal was like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm on it. And then he marches onto set and starts folding people in half. And that's not even a joke.
No.
Hey, motherfucker, I paid for 37 glass display cases, and I'm gonna motherfucking break them all.
Yeah, that actually happens a handful of times. People just getting thrown up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Steven Seagal has to break things. Again, I think it's in the contract. He's want to put people through shit. And these glass cases are fucking perfect for it. Because, like you said, when he's folding these people in half, they don't get a chance. They don't have any fucking chance. The worst thing is like, he can't shoot them with a gun. Neither one of them, nobody's shooting nobody. But as soon as everyone runs out of bullets, Steven Seagal grabs a dude, throws him 16 feet through a fucking wall, and he's like, yeah, Legends of the Hidden Temple, you know? Like, what?
You got one guy just like, no, wait, I work here. Steven Seagal's like, yeah, well, you're fired.
Yeah, and just like tears his leg off and beats another dude with it. Well, I don't know if like it's just the nature of Aikido, but it doesn't photograph well, right? So there's a lot of like grabbing and torsioning, and there's almost so much you can do because like even in this movie, that he goes up against 3 or 4 people fisticuffs, and it just looks like he's just windmilling and slapping the shit out of people until they just get tired and fall over. My guess is, like, if that's the case, then him throwing so many people into glass things, that's like his big, like, oomph, like his umami.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like, if he was a D&D character, he definitely took Tavern Brawler, so he gets additional points of damage for improvised weapons. And him tossing people in those display cases gets him an extra D6 on every one of them. So, I mean, that adds up.
Yeah, if those display cases were not there, it would look very low effort and very, like, there wouldn't be the splash. But if you got all that glass, the shards just flying everywhere, it's like, I don't know, it's like your little opponents are exploding into coins, like you're in Nintendo or something.
If you just want any barometer of just how hollow Steven Seagal's presence is, we explained all of that. All that actually happens. It's actually pretty fucking violent. And then at the last minute, Keith David rolls in, nat 20, all the time. More charisma than he can possibly handle. I'm like, yeah, Keith David's awesome. But the movie just cuts to the next scene. Like, they just don't even give him a chance to say anything.
He gets to hit one guy, and they're like, nah.
So we need to talk about Screwface, who is evidently the big bad in this.
Yeah.
His name gets thrown out like halfway through, and you can tell that he is the big bad. You can keep track of him amongst all the other Jamaican warlord guys because he has blue eyes, so he stands out.
True, he's a shiny. But he's not the only one, because he has an exact, though an inch shorter, identical twin.
Does he? Is that...
Yeah.
Is that real?
No, it's totally... it's in that scene that I described when they, like, passed the baton, like, when the Colombians just gave up, now it's all Jamaican shit. Like, in that brief, like, shoehorn scene, like, his twin just shows up, he's like, hey, man! And the guy just smiles like, you're fucking weird, I'm out. And that was it.
So, okay... So the part that I'm confused about is, all right, you know, we have shit actually happening. This is the denouement of the movie, the big battle. And just all at once, Steven Seagal just chops the big bad's head off. Just cuts it off with a katana because he has that.
Yeah.
So that's Screwface. That's supposed to be like the guy. They take his head to the rest of the cartel, the posse, if you will. It's like, hey, it's over. We got your leader. You know, he's not going to do any the big bad voodoo man anymore. And then his body regrows itself. Is that what happened? Are they trying to tell me it regenerated itself and he came back to life after that because of the voodoo?
I'm cool with that, to be honest. You know, it's like a gecko. Chop his tail off, it grows back. Chop this guy's whole body off, it just, it returns. Don't worry about it.
I loved the Highlander reference here, because he walks in with the head, and he holds it up, and Seagal's all like, I killed King Willie. His strength be in me, motherfucker. And everyone's like, oh, he killed the King Willie. And then King Willie reappears, but it's the twin. And then he kills him too by giving him the shaft. Wink, wink.
Is that what happened?
Okay. Even though both of these deaths happen in two completely different countries on completely different parts of the globe, we have to talk about these deaths. Steven Seagal goes to Jamaica. We find out later that he killed the doppelganger, but the way he does it is just the biggest no you I've seen in the longest fucking time.
Oh, yeah, dude.
The guy pulls out a sword and you're like, all right, we're on to something. Steven Seagal grabs a sword and holds it in the most awkward way possible. Fine. The fight ends up with the Jamaican doppelganger doing this kind of cool, like, spin trick, and Steven Seagal just, like, taking his time walking across the room, grabbing it, and then just cutting his nuts.
It's a nut cut, spin head decapitation. It's instant, and there was never a sword fight. There was a sword beating. The guy, King Willie's doppelganger, is always like, what the fuck? There's a look on his face of genuine concern, and I think Steven Seagal was being, because swords are his shit, I think Seagal's being overly aggressive with it and making the dude uncomfortable. Because it really shines through on the camera. Yeah. And then again, his unwarranted aggression kind of shines through a lot of this movie. True. And having said that, death number 2, the actual Screwface, the way he gets got is fucking hysterical. And I just have to chalk it up to Steven Seagal being absolutely fed up. He just didn't want to do anything else. And he's like, well, I'm just going to break this dude in half. It's okay.
I was so confused when I saw a second Screwface pop up. Didn't know he had a twin. Didn't hear that one throwaway line. If there was, I got nothing.
Definitely throwaway. No, it was definitely throwaway. Just like Screwface himself, after he was broken in half on Steven Seagal's thigh down an elevator shaft.
Yep.
It's so fucking great, though, in the fact that it's so fucking bad. He tackles him through a wall, lifts him over the head like Bane and Batman, drives him down, snapping him in half, and you're supposed to be focused on Seagal looking powerful, but all you can look at is the clearly stuffed dummy that he is abusing, and then hucking down an elevator shaft. I don't know, man. Just that little bit made it solid fucking gold for me.
A part of me does feel like they didn't tell him that wasn't the real dude.
Kill him. It's just gonna kill him anyways.
Yeah, just like, no, it's a movie. It's okay. It's not real. We're in Chicago.
Sir, we're still in Jamaica.
Man, Seagal tries to drop a one-liner, and it just, not only is it inaudible, but once you figure it out, it just sucks. You know? Like, yeah, he killed a pair of twins, and the only thing he has to say is like, at least it wasn't triplets or nothing. Peace.
Well, that's for the sequel.
Remarked for death.
Yeah. He was tired of working this weekend that it took to shoot this entire movie, so he's like, no, we gotta put out that last scene as a sequel. It can be DLC.
DLC.
Yeah.
But even after all that, the movie has the fucking goal to just end.
Dude.
And it's definitely something that we talk about a lot, how a movie just stops. Let me describe for you verbatim. Steven Seagal picks up somebody, carries them out, almost like walking into the distance, and as he's walking down the alley that he just entered out of the building, credits roll. We don't know how this shit wraps up. It doesn't.
Nope, we don't know if that was the Jamaican informant guy. That was the Jamaican cop or whatever. We don't know if he lives. We don't know if the kid lives. Homegirl's house is still shot up and is probably being creeped on by the Jamaicans back in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
None of that's important because Seagal whipped ass.
I guess.
That's the most important thing, is that he got to enjoy his vacation. The end.
Oh shit. Speaking of enjoyment, this movie had high highs for me, but it also had extremely low lows. When this movie dragged, it fucking drags, alright? But these, like the car chase, some, not all, of Steven Seagal's karate was cool. The visual attention on Keith David being around Steven Seagal was fun. And the fact that I know that Predator 2 got its inspiration, or Steven Seagal got its inspiration from Predator 2, makes me happy. That, and I also know that Steven Seagal's music career was greatly influenced by this movie when he wrote the banger that is I Won the Punani, where he sings about Punani in a Jamaican accent.
I hate that I just remembered that exists.
The blues man. He was the only white guy in an all-black band, I hear. But there is like this weird thing in this movie where it kind of feels like this was the first opportunity he had to just kind of like grasp everything himself. Whether it showed in the credits or not, there's like this weird point in the movie where like the reins have been kind of changed and the rest of the movie doesn't correlate with the first at all. That aside, recommended. This movie's a fucking shit box and it's hilarious. That aside, all hail Keith David.
My biggest takeaway that I found out today about this movie is that it was released in theaters. Not only that, it was at the top of the box office for 3 weeks in 1990.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd have just shown me this movie, I would have said that was direct to video. Because this movie fucking sucks. I'm sorry, you guys. I know you had a lot of positives. The only positive that I got from this is Keith David. For sure, Keith David, king of the cast.
Well, there you have it. That was Marked for Death, which came out like fucking 8 months after Hard to Kill. Can you believe that? The same fucking year. If you have any strong feelings about this movie or the show, leave it in the comment sections below.
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to bash that little bell icon or whatever you got so you don't miss what we have brewing up next.
You can find us anywhere podcasts are available, including YouTube. So, give us a listen. We're kind of funny sometimes, especially when we're ragging on Seagal, but who isn't? If you don't give us a listen, we'll perform some sort of voodoo ritual, and unfortunately, next time you go to the beach, there'll be a great white shark that'll be haunting you, and you'll die of the fear.
Lord have mercy.
Anything beats just being put over Steven Seagal's thigh.
Oh, shit!